Welcome, if this is your first time watching Who Remembers, the series where we discuss and break down my thoughts on games that are at least 10 years old or older. Some we are revisiting, and some we are playing for the first time. I'll try to keep it mostly spoiler-free by avoiding any major plot points. So let's get started. Streets of Rage was released in 1991 for the Sega Mega Drive, or Sega Genesis if you grew up in the US like myself. Streets of Rage is a beat-em-up featuring 3 playable characters: Axel Stone, Blaze Fielding, and my personal favorite, Adam Hunter. Each character has a unique special attack, which is basically calling in RoboCop to launch missiles from the sky out of a bazooka. I love how a lot of these games from the 90s would rip off characters from other movies or comics. I mean, look at some of the enemies in this game. You have knockoff young Steven Seagal flipping and jumping around, or my personal favorite, these Ninja Turtle looking guys with the bandanas. I was honestly a huge Ninja Turtles fan back in the day. That's why I love these dudes so much. I mean, who wasn't eating Pizza Hut and Ninja Rap by Vanilla Ice back in the 90s? But honestly, enough about the 90s. Let's get back to the streets. The Streets of Rage. All 3 playable characters are former police officers who are now taken to the streets to save the city from Mr. X. And no, not this Mr. X. Streets of Rage is a fairly short game consisting of 8 different levels, all ending with a sweet boss fight. Now with that brief summary out of the way, let's get into the fun stuff. Most people online love to talk about Streets of Rage 2, but today I want to show some love to the original OG, Streets of Rage. You see, the Sega Genesis was the first console I remember playing, and furthermore, the first console that I can technically call my own. Now just to clarify, it was passed down to me by my stepdad at the time. I was probably in 2nd grade, kind of just getting my feet wet as a gamer. I remember being completely fascinated, borderline obsessed with Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic 2 was the first game I ever played, but I had a few other great games like Toe Jam and Earl and the hidden gem Star Control. We were living in the golden days of couch co-op. Nothing like sitting on the floor at a buddy's house with 2 to 4 of your best friends playing some Super Smash Bros, Mario Kart, Halo 2, and Streets of Rage, baby. Looking at gaming today, I feel blessed to grow up playing games with my friends in the same room. I mean, some online games were starting to pop up and be available, but they were basically non-existent at the time. Now, a lot of people will point out how they dislike the friendly fire of Streets of Rage, meaning you can cause damage to the other player on accident or on purpose, if you're an ass. I remember some of the most comical moments coming from this aspect of the game. Nothing like your buddy grabbing you by the neck and just kneeing you in the face a few times while you're both laughing, trying to let go, and having no clue at the same time. Even better when you're low on health and your buddy just drop kicks you to the face, taking your last life. This is how friendships are made. Now, these are just some of the few reasons why I love Streets of Rage. Another reason why I love this game is the music created by Yozo Kashiro. It's a vibe. This soundtrack still runs rent-free in my head today. It takes me back to playing arcade games at Myrtle Beach when I was a kid. Speaking of the beach, the 3rd level, called Oceanfront, has always been my favorite level in the Streets of Rage. Something about the chill vibe, music, and rain coming down has always been relaxing to me. I was a big wrestling fan growing up, so I always enjoyed the boss fight on the beach because he reminded me of the Ultimate Warrior in some sense. When I think about Streets of Rage, I honestly don't believe I ever beat the game. My buddy Chandler and I put countless hours into it, but would always fall short on the final level, with the elevators right before the showdown with Mr. X. I'll never forget those days, and unfortunately, I'll never get them back. But still to this day, whenever I'm in the mood to play some Sega Genesis, Streets of Rage is the first game I pick up and play. It's great to see and warms my heart that the franchise is still alive and producing new games, with the latest installment of Streets of Rage 4, which I do plan on picking up and playing at some point. But to me, personally, the first Streets of Rage will always be the gold standard, and still to this day is my favorite Sega Genesis game of all time. I hope you enjoyed stepping back in time and unlocking some of the most nostalgic memories of my childhood with Streets of Rage. Every game in the series has its own charm, and if you haven't played the first one, just make sure to give it a go. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. The 16-bit era has aged like a fine wine, and still looks and plays great today. Comment below if you're enjoying my Who Remembers series, and make sure to give this video a like if you got some sort of enjoyment out of it. It really helps me out as a small channel. Consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos in the future. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.